tell you beforehand, if you read your notes, you'll find mistakes. I normally correct as many as I can, but in some cases, I don't get them corrected. And so you'll see some here that one of them is when I say Guerrer, and other places I'll have a B instead of a G. So I'll let you know in advance. And I don't think you all are one of those that run around looking for mistakes. I'm excited. Oh, I'm excited. I have my book cover. I've approved my book cover, and I am in the second chapter of editing. They are editing it and sending me chapters to edit, check what they've said. I have to be careful because with AI, I want it to say what I say, only in a more educational manner or more professional manner. It's not like I'm stupid. But if it wasn't for Grammarly and spell check, I'd be in big trouble. That was a joke, actually. Yeah, I know. That can be a struggle for some people, thinking about it. What is it, 35? Today, Genesis 26, and we'll go from verse, I think, 26 to 35, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we're studying in chapter 26. It's an interesting study. And I was thinking about this chapter again. I study every day, and I was thinking about the chapter again this morning as I went over and corrected things and changed things. And I have a couple more books I use on Sunday morning just to see what I can add or what more someone is saying or what other thoughts that God might give me on the chapter. But this is a very good chapter to know and understand. Isaac is different. Isaac is different from most of the men in the Bible. I think Isaac is closest to Jesus in his life. Now, he's still a sinner, right? He's still a sinner. And he's still, just like you and I, saved by grace. He is. I mean, he is God's gift to Abraham. And Abraham raised him up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And Isaac, but Isaac is the good child. He's that child that never is just a good child. Okay, son, we're going up the hill. I'm going to use you as an offering. Okay, Dad. You know, he's carrying his own wood like Jesus carried the cross. He goes up, he allows his father to bind him. We don't see anywhere where he says, "What are you doing?" He did say at one time, we have the wood and the fire, but where's the sacrifice? And Abraham said, God will provide the sacrifice. Okay. He goes up, he allows himself to be restrained, and then he lays down on the wood, ready to be sacrificed. What child does that? He was an obedient child. And I wrote about that this week. I give like 7 things on how he was a type of Christ. And this chapter is a beautiful chapter for you and I. Because this chapter gives us a look at how a peaceful Christian should live. We live in an evil, evil world. When I look at Israel, and this is what this story is about, Israel, not yet Jacob will become Israel, but this is from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. And what this is an example for you and I on how to restrain ourselves, endure the suffering, and allow God to bless us. And so what we have with Isaac is is God told him in the last chapter, if you listen to me and do what I say, I will be with you and I will bless you. Understand that. No matter what the circumstances are going to be, there was a famine in the land. There's a famine in this land. There's a famine in the world today for the gospel of Christ. We're talking about missionaries and you know, you were talking about somebody from Bolivia going and somebody going to Bolivia. We have people come at the United States. And you know, we were talking about in the mission conference people establishing churches in Texas. Well, let me tell you, if you want to be a missionary in the United States, go to the Midwest. Go to the center of this country. I was in Nebraska. There was no fundamental churches in that area. I mean, it's just amazing. And to get a missionary even up there, it wasn't worth their time to go up there because they'd just be one church here or one church there. There's missionaries that we need them here in our country all over the place. But there are places where there are no fundamental Baptist churches. And so what we have with Israel here is they have famines in the land, so they left and they went to Abimelech. Now, Abraham did that 80 years before, and he had went to the same place. And Abraham established himself there and dug some wells and lived there, and God blessed him. Now, Isaac has done that. He has come back where his father had gone, and he had settled in there, and they've allowed him to stay. So he moves outside of town, and he digs his father's well back up. They buried the well. This is idiots, right? You know, I'm talking about idiocy. Somebody's successful. Somebody has grown crops. Somebody has been successful, and they dug a well. And what do you need? Water. If there's one thing you must have wherever you go is water. I mean, the first place, when you go buy a piece of property out here somewhere, the first thing you do is if you can't get water, you go dig a well, right? I mean, and so that's what was happening. But what happened is they saw his prosperity and they couldn't handle it, and so they run him off, and so he goes to another location and he digs another well. And they saw that and his prosperity, and so they run him off. And he goes to dig another well, and they saw his prosperity there, and so they run him off. Now, this is over a period of years. Understand that this is not talking about 1 year time. And everywhere he goes, God prospers him. And now we're going to see where he ends up in one location, and they leave him alone. And I can't help but think of Israel today, and if you think about it, and Isaac was a passive individual, not passive to God, but he allowed. I mean, God said, "Just I'll bless you, I'll be with you, I'll bless you," and so rather than fight a war against these people, he just moved from place to place. Israel was displaced from their land many years ago. Abraham was promised this land 4,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago, Abraham was promised the land. And so Isaac and Jacob and they began to establish the area even though they were sojourners in the land. And of course they went to Egypt and they come back. It's their land. They took their land. God gave it to them. And they took their land. And they had that land until 587 BC when God moved them out for 70 years. And then Zerubbabel and those guys, Ezra and Nehemiah, were allowed to come back and reestablish the land. But it was their land, but not their land. They were in the land, but the land belonged to the Medes and Persians or the Greeks by this time. And later, the Romans owned the land. And so Israel had been out of this land. They've been in it, but they have not been a part of it. The land is not their land. And then in 135 AD, not only did 70 AD, there was a lot of, over 1 million slain in Jerusalem. The temple was torn up. At 135 AD, Israel lost their land completely. The name of the land was changed to Palestine. And at that point, Israel was scattered all over Russia, all over Europe, all in the Baltic states, all over the areas, right? And then coming into the late 1800s, Israel began to work, and there was people began to work, the Zionist movement began to take place, and they were wanting to get their land back or get land for them to move because they were a displaced people. They had no land. They were still Jews. They were still God's people. They were still people of Israel, but they had no land. And everywhere they go, they were being slaughtered here and there. And everywhere they were going, they were having difficulty. But they prospered everywhere they went. And so we find that in 1948, Israel came and they fought a war and they got their land back. Now let me explain something to you. That's their land and that's why they fought. That's right. They didn't destroy the Dome on the Rock. They are still a passive people. They're not a warring nation. I want you to understand that. They're not a warring nation. Why are they fighting these battles? Because they're fighting them. Every day missiles are coming. And this is a literal statement until just this last war in Gaza. Literally every day missiles were flying in from Gaza into Israel, and they had to put their children into places to hide. And then they would, it was just like you hear a siren, so they go in for 15 minutes till the missile gets shot down or goes wherever it's going to go. And then they go back out and play. So they're still a passive nation. When they came in 1948, it was a desert. And they made it fruitful. And let me say this. Every nation around them was blessed by their presence. Even those of Gaza that were intelligent would go into Israel and become successful business owners. They allowed that. They allowed that. Every nation around Israel was blessed. Isaac, these people were blessed to have Isaac there. And they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it. So what I want you to see in the lesson today is, this is today. Time 4,000 years have changed, but people haven't changed. People still hate. Evil hates good. Darkness hates light. Light exposes evil, right? Truth exposes lies. And so that's what we see. And then we start out here with verse number 26. And it says, and Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Azukah, one of his friends, and Pekol, the chief captain of his army. These are men that have now come to Isaac from Gerar. And so they've come to him, when we find these men, it's several years had passed while Isaac enjoyed God's blessing. He's peacefully moved, and now these people are showing up. They've pushed him away. Every time, wherever he went, they were pushing him away. I marvel at the ignorance of people. I really do. I really do. I'm watching a country today, America, that is so divided. Just so divided. And the wickedness of people. We'll find in the last two verses of this chapter, I think, something else that we might, hopefully I can get to and we'll discuss a little. And so we have two people that's come with it. Abimelech is the king of the area. He's the king of the Gaza, right? The Philistines, basically, who these are. He's the king of the Philistines. And he's brought with him Azusath, and he is one of the friends. Now, this friend here, his name means possession. And what motivates this man? So what we have now is the king, and then we have a very wealthy, influential man that's kind of his counselor. He would be someone he might consult for wisdom in certain things. He may have even been a part of the Congress or Senate or a political figure in this kingdom. He was an influential man. And then we have Picol, who was the chief captain of the army. His name means strong, ruling all. So here, there are three unique individuals. We see this. You can see this in our government, right? You have a president, you have a vice president, but then you also have some people of power. And then you have a military leader. You watch them at these, when the president speaks to the nation, these military men with all of these medals on there, they wouldn't crack a smile if, they want, let's go to war. Let's find somebody to go shoot. You know, they're men of war, you know. Now, granted, in peacetime, those guys are not the guys that want to go to war. The chesty pullers, and some of you, if whoever's a Marine in here will know who Chesty Puller was. Chesty pullers are one of those guys that say, find me a war. And I think this Picol was that kind of a guy. I think he was a strong military leader. And I don't know that he wants to be in this, but each one has a different motive. You understand? And so the motive of Abimelech is a peaceful motive. He don't want a war to begin. And what's happening, Isaac, God has blessed Isaac over these years, not over 1 year or 2 years, maybe 5, 10 years or more. God has blessed Isaac to where now he's a nation within himself. Yeah. Understand, when Abraham moved, I don't know if you can understand this or not. When Abraham had to move, all of his animals would eat up all of the crops or all of the ground and grass. Whenever he moved, it was a city of 2,000 to 5,000 people that moved. Picked up their tents and moved wherever they wanted. Nobody ever stopped them. No. Nobody ever stopped. And let me say, well, Abraham, he showed that you better not try to stop him. He took 318 men and run 4 kings out of the kingdom. Here's men that worked and they went all the way around the east side of the Dead Sea, and they just conquered and conquered and conquered and conquered and conquered, and all the way around the west side, conquered and conquered and conquered, and they made a mistake. They took Lot. That was a huge mistake. All that they had collected along the way, Abraham took 318 of his men, caught him up around Dan, way up to the north section, and chased him another 100 miles, and he lost everything he had, all that he gained. He went home like a pup with his tail between his legs. He was gone. You know. So you don't mess with Abraham. Isaac, now, I'm sure these stories have gone around. He's been passive, he's been passive, he's been passive. Now he's built up a nation within himself. And there's a fear that Isaac will come back and have reprisal against them. And so that's why the king has come out. Now, I think that Azusath, I think that he may have had a different motive. I think he was a rich man, and I think he saw the blessings of Isaac and understood that, hey, I can profit by this guy being around me. I mean, where is Isaac going to sell his goods and buy goods, right? Where is he going to buy and sell? He's going to these nations. To people around him are prospering because of him. Israel, all the nations around Israel has prospered by them being back. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? Why are you coming back? Well, he had grown a lot since then. Those who once hated him are now coming back to... I'm with Isaac. What are you guys doing here? Now Isaac we've never seen Isaac personally take a back seat. When he moved on his own. You understand what I'm saying? He was not moving because he was afraid of them. Isaac was never afraid of them. Isaac has a pretty big God. And God said, if you follow me, I'll be with you. I will be with you. I will bless you. And so he would just move as God would lead him around. And then they said, well, we certainly saw that God was with thee. Well. God was with him when he was there with you. What did Isaac hurt the nation of Gaza at that time, the Philistines? What did he do to hurt them? They gave him land outside of the city. He dug a well, his father's well, by the way, Abraham's well, that they had filled with dirt because they hated Abraham. People hate you. It's like the most passive Christian can be hated. I'm going to get political. Can anybody find a more passive individual than Elon Musk? He's just a little whiz kid, a genius, doing nothing but helping people. I mean, really, honestly. He's fine. He found computers that were printing money. He's just sending out money to places of Never Land. That's why somebody making $157,000 a year can be worth $20 million in 4 years. That's, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, I know that I'm not getting a lot of action here, but that's okay. What I'm saying is people hate. And the hatred is so vile. It's so vile. When you've been beat, go lick your wounds and figure out how to get better. That's the best. And this is the same thing here. You guys have been beat. Now you're coming to me. You didn't want me when I was there. You didn't want me while I was prospering with you. And then now they come back and say, well, certainly we see the Lord is with thee. The Lord was with him then. Let us now make an oath and a covenant with thee. And those are two separate things. But I'm not going to go back to verses 12 through 14, but you could go back. A covenant here, and Gesenius, he writes in here, covenant so-called, from the idea of cutting. And if you go back to Abraham in chapter 15, when he made a covenant with God, they split the animals, and he walked between the animals. That of the sacrifice. And then God came down the next day and took the animals and accepted the sacrifice of Abraham. But also another way of making a covenant during this period of time was making a feast with your enemy. They have come now to make a covenant. They have come to make peace. Okay, let's sit down and eat together. And that's a show of friendship. Isaac was showing them a sort of friendship, and that thou wouldst do us no hurt as we have not touched thee. Now, you know what? It's amazing. Some people tell a lie so much that they think it's the truth. And it's kind of like double negatives. You have enough double negatives, it becomes a positive, right? It's just like how can this be? We have done thee no hurt. We have not touched thee. Now that might be a case. We have done thee nothing but good. Well, if that was the case, why are they there? Now think about that. We have done thee nothing but good. Okay, well, why are you here? You want to make a covenant and you done me nothing but good? I've done you nothing but good. We're good, right? Well, it's a lie. And have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord. Again, the word Lord is capitalized. What are they saying here? Thou art blessed of the God. They don't believe in this God. But now they're recognizing that Isaac is blessed of the Almighty God, the God and ruler of the universe, the God and creator of all things. That thou wilt do us no hurt. Literally, that they wouldn't do any evil. And I'm assuming that they didn't want Isaac, as he grew in size, to go and have war against them. That's what it appears anyways. So they made a feast, and they eat the feast, and they did, they eat and they drink, and it was a type of joy. They rose up early in the morning, and they swear one to another, and Isaac sent them away. And they departed from him in peace. Proverbs 16:7, when a man's way please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Isaac sent him away, and it came to pass the same day. I love this. Isaac has had his servants out digging back Abraham's well again in Beersheba. And Isaac, his servants, have been digging this well all the time he's having this meeting out here with these men. And it's amazing because if they come in the day before, they may have changed the peace agreements. But now his men have come in, they've dug a well. We found water. As soon as I wrote this down, I thought about the woman at the well. You know, Jesus said, if you knew who I was, you would living water. She trusted Christ as Savior, got the living water. What did she do? She run to town to tell everybody about it. Here's these servants. They've been digging this well. They got water again. And this is Abraham's well. And they go back and tell Isaac, we found water. And they named the place Beersheba. I only have a minute here. But the last two verses, Esau was 40 when he took to wife Judith, his daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bosmath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, Isaac's son. I really need to spend time on this. Well, it grieved Isaac that his son would do something so foolish. It's almost like in your face. Esau never came to mom and dad and say, I want to get married. They would have sent him off to Pandamaran to pick up a wife out of Terach's family. But no, wild Esau despised his birthright, sold it to Jacob, not having a bone of sense in his brain. Now he goes out and he marries two Canaanite women, and his mom and dad still love him, but look what it did to the family. I mean, when a son, I've been watching the news, and I see so many young people destroy themselves. And in their little pea brain, they think there's something special. And they have just, remember when people were, well, I'm not going to eat with my family because of the president. And they voted for the president, so I'm not even going to go eat with my family. Oh, it's stupid. Who are you trying to impress? Esau grieved the mind of Isaac and Rebekah. And what this word grieve, it goes a little further. It indicates that the two women that he married, hated the family. They didn't like the father-in-law and mother-in-law. They would say things or do things to spite them. And so not only did he marry two women that, well, just look at him. Just look at him. And who did he marry? Well, he would marry people like him. If somebody you might find in a bar or something, you know. You know, so I mean, somebody you might find in a wild lifestyle, and you just marry them. And what do you expect them to do when you take them home to mama? Papa. People that raised you from a pup. People that loved you, changed your diapers. People that treated you with respect. People that fed you. People that took care of you. And then you come home with this. What are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to act? You just ruined your life. He just ruined his life. He married non-believers. He took two of them. Where did that come from? I mean, sometimes you feel for the ignorance of these young people. I don't know what you feel, but you feel for them. It's something else. All right, let's have a word of prayer. Father, we're grateful for the wonderful day that you've given us. Thank you for this time we can meet together, and I pray that you'll just bless the morning service, empower us with your Spirit, move in our hearts in a very special way today.